everybody, my name is Roxanne Wolf and welcome back to another SuperHorrorBro FNAF reaction video. Today we're reacting to which FNAF is the scariest. Ooh,
this is gonna be interesting.
Oh yeah. If you guys are new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Tap that bell to never miss another one of my videos. If you guys want to, you can join our Discord link in the description below. It'll be there. And yeah, if you want to join our members,
you can post. You can post fan art in which we're looking forward to that fan art because if we get enough, we will react to them.
We don't want our intro to be too long. So before it gets too long, what I'm assuming is the scariest FNAF game is Help Wanted. Because it's literally a VR game.
Hey guys, SuperHorrorBro Mike here.
But I guess we shall find out.
Yeah, and in today's video, we take a look at every Five Nights at Freddy's game.
Anyway, this intro's been way too long.
To see which is the scariest of all time, and why. We won't be looking at fan-made games and mods here, although if you would like me to cover these in a separate video, just let me know in the comments below. Instead, we focus on creator Scott Cawthon's 8 main entries, including this year's VR debut, Help Wanted.
So yeah, this video was made a few years ago.
There's a lot of ground to cover and games to play, so let's begin at the bottom of the stack with the least scary entry as we work up to the scariest of all time.
Number 8. Sister location.
Wow, I didn't think Sister Location of all games would be last.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
You would think it would be FNAF 3 or something.
Freddy's Sister Location, the 5th entry in the FNAF franchise, divided fans at the time of release because it took a radically different approach to both its presentation and gameplay. Instead of taking place in one room with a simple gameplay loop built around it, Sister Location had several different
I remember playing this on my channel as well.
Locations to traverse.
If you guys want to, you can go check it out, but go check it out on my playlist tab.
Set inside Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental, a warehouse where animatronics could be rented out for children's birthday parties, the player must crawl from a central hub area through vents to different rooms within the facility, each with minigame based objectives to complete. Much of the game is full of dorky humour, story exposition, and long stretches where the player is completely free from danger, and as a result, Sister Location feels far less nerve-wracking and challenging than other entries in the series.
Are you sure
about that?
I see what you were trying to type, and I will.
I've had a hard-ass time with Night 3 and Night 4, even though Night 4 at one point I was able to beat first try every single time, despite how hard it was.
Auto-correct it for you. Thank you for selecting Casual Bongos.
Casual Bongos.
Although it should be noted, the game does contain a secret ending where we return to the classic FNAF gameplay formula as we try to escape one of the series' most terrifying animatronics, Ennard.
Ultimate Custom Night. Yeah, you're right. Ultimate Custom Night is not really that scary at all.
Said to be a representation of William Afton's Hell following his demise at the end of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Simulator, Ultimate Custom Night isn't a standard FNAF game. Instead of featuring a strong narrative, Custom Night, as the title suggests, is a customizable collection of wave-based game modes. It allows the player to pick from a bounty of different animatronics found in previous FNAF titles, selecting their difficulty levels before spawning them into an ever more challenging environment to see how long we can survive their advances. Each animatronic features a minigame or survival method built around them we must memorize and act upon if they decide to attack. There is a great deal to remember, and on harder difficulties, the game becomes a near impossible barrage of enemy waves that few have managed to overcome.
Yep, that is true. 50-20 mode is hard.
Custom Night certainly contains its fair share of jump scare moments, perhaps more than any other game in the series. But because of its unrelenting bombardment of scares and its goofy premise, it soon becomes far less scary than a normal FNAF game. Instead, it has the power to frustrate more than terrify.
You're not wrong.
Number 6.
Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is also
Five Nights
not
at
too
Freddy's
scary, honestly.
Five Nights at Freddy's 2 features perhaps the biggest departure from the original game's art style out of any of the following sequels. The animatronics certainly looking far less creepy as a result. This is the main reason why, at least in my opinion, FNAF 2 is far less scary overall than many of Scott's other games.
Some of the animatronics are pretty creepy though, compared to the others.
The enemies just look far less intimidating. That's not to say that FNAF 2 is devoid of scares though, in fact it's actually pretty creepy overall. The mechanic of hiding behind a Fazbear mask in the security office as various animatronics wander over to inspect us up close and personal is pretty unnerving.
Oh, it can be sometimes.
Yep.
And the need to keep a music box cranked adds a constant anxiety to the mix also, especially considering failure to do so means coming face to face with this terrifying puppet. FNAF 2 also features another super creepy animatronic known
The mango.
as Mangle, a creature made up from various pieces of scrap crudely bolted together. Mangle can hang down from the ceiling to attack from above, and is sure to keep even the most fearless of player on the edge of their seat. So while not the scariest Five Nights experience, it certainly has its moments.
Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's isn't really known to be all that scary if you think about it. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it is.
5.
It is still in the horror genre, but it's not the scariest. Like there are games that are way scarier.
FNAF 6, also known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Simulator, caught most fans off guard upon its initial release. The game's Steam page presented it as a free-to-play pizza simulator in the classic 8-bit.
Oh yeah, this was the first. Not really the first. I guess FNAF World was technically the first free game that got made. That is FNAF related, or that is FNAF. But as far as the horror ones go, that is not FNAF World. I think this is the first free one.
Its style of the cryptic backstory minigames the series is known for. And sure enough, the game begins as exactly that. However, before long, it becomes apparent that as well as managing a pizza joint, we must also take part in the usual survival horror gameplay. We play as the manager of a newly founded pizzeria and must survive in the ventilation system as we try to complete a number of noisy end-of-shift duties such as printing out orders.
How can I resist a promise such as this?
The problem is the pizzeria is full of killer animatronics making a return from previous titles. Before each night, we find a scrapped animatronic mysteriously dumped in the alleyway, and we can decide whether or not to salvage them. If we mess up during this salvage operation, then the animatronic jump scares us and becomes yet another threat on the night shift.
Begin audio prompt in 3.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna be a threat on the night shift, regardless if they jump scare you or not during the salvage.
2,
Probably.
1.
I always come back.
Jeez.
FNAF 6 has a genuinely unnerving atmosphere and some incredibly dark and disturbing backstory sequences, making it a very scary experience overall.
Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Why is that so high on the list?
Yeah, why?
In
I
FNAF
don't think
3,
it's
we
scary
find
at all.
ourselves in the role of a
I really never found the game scary. Maybe Springtrap a little bit, but Springtrap doesn't really scare me.
security guard at a futuristic amusement park known as Fazbear's Fright, with the ghost of serial killer William Afton, who now inhabits the body of the Springtrap animatronic he died in, stalking us through its halls. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 has perhaps the most chilling atmosphere of any game in this series. The idea is to make sure we distract Springtrap for long enough to survive the night. He is the only animatronic who can actually harm us, as all the other enemies show up in the form of phantom-like apparitions. They can appear when switching between camera feeds and then jump scare us, as well as shutting down power to vents and cameras, which then allows Afton to reach us more quickly. Due to the random nature of these phantom scares and the creepy way Springtrap watches us from the cameras and doorway of the office, we find ourselves constantly on edge. It's especially scary knowing the mangled body of William Afton remains
That is creepy.
within the Springtrap
pretty
suit,
creepy.
and there's something supremely eerie about the way in which he stares us down as he calmly slips
Those fan-made shots were scarier than the actual Springtrap. I mean, look at this face. That's not scary. You can see a smile.
links over to attack. The dull and dimly lit sickly green environment only adds to the oppressive atmosphere. All in all, a game that is pretty uncomfortable to play.
What's next? Oh yeah, the original. Almost forgot about that game.
The original.
How did I forget about the original? It's literally
I
the
don't
game
know.
that started it all.
As we enter the top 3 scariest FNAF games, of course we must mention the one that started it all, the original Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay, here's my guess. My guess is that the 4th game is going to be second, and Help Wanted is going to be in first. That's my guess.
This jump out of your seat point and click experience introduced the world to a new kind of horror game, one featuring the now iconic animatronics Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie and Chica, designs that have stood the test of time with their simple creep factor. There's always been something eerie about animatronics, and Scott Cawthon took this uncanny fear to the max in the original game, where we survive 5 nights of hell
Right, that's
as a
the truth.
security guard watching the pizzeria by night. A time when these family-friendly mascots take on a sinister nature, hunting us until the clock strikes 6. Whether it's Foxy's mad dash from Pirate Cove, catching sight of Bonnie or Chica in the doorway when checking the lights, or the power running down to reveal Freddy waiting in the darkness, one thing is for sure, the original is still to this day the scariest in many aspects and remains a classic modern horror game for that reason.
Let's say find its praise for a second. Knew it.
He called it.
That means Help Wanted is first.
Most people fear the dark at some point during their childhood, and some even carry that fear into their adult life too. There's certainly something creepy about what we can't see.
That looks like that looks like a wolf-ish version of Nightmare, gonna be honest.
Living in the darkness, no matter how irrational it may seem. The thing living in the closet
I know Nightmare is a bear, but still, that's why I said wolfish version.
or under the bed, and usually it's all in our mind. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 homed in on this
I mean, you can't tell me the eyes of that wolf didn't look exactly like Nightmare's eyes.
Yeah.
concept by making an entire game based around the concept of surviving a night as a child afraid of the dark. However, in the darkness of this child's room lurk animatronics such as Nightmare Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, and scariest of all, Nightmare. These designs are some of the most disturbing in FNAF history, because they're meant to be the ultimate Nightmare version of the classic designs. As well as attempting to locate these nightmares, we also get to play a game of chicken with Plushtrap, where we must allow him to edge down a dark hallway toward us and spot him by turning on our flashlight at the last possible moment. Gameplay is very difficult as we must check both the bed, 2 doors, and closet for oncoming threats, and only the faint sound of animatronic breathing cues us to their locations. There's few moments in the series more terrifying than checking the doorway to see one of these guys right up in your face. Add
That is pretty scary, but it doesn't really scare me that much.
to that the incredibly
Gotta be honest, like, all I do is a minor jump when I get jump scared for FNAF 4, and that's it.
tragic backstory told throughout the game via 8-bit style cutscenes, and
I mean, if I'm being honest, the easiest night in FNAF 4 is night 5.
you have without a doubt one of the
That's just my opinion, though. Like, the easiest night is night 5.
scariest and most unsettling games in the series.
Help wanted!
At number 1 we have Help Wanted, the latest mainline FNAF game and first one to officially launch in virtual reality. It should be no surprise that this is the scariest Five Nights
Oh, hello there.
experience, as we are literally put face to face with Freddy and his friends like never before. Fully realised in 3D, giving us the player freedom to explore environments and scares up close and personal as if we were really there. It includes many classic moments from franchise history, including most of the ones we've covered in this very video. Everything feels much more realistic and immersive, and the new character Glitch Trap and his backstory is pretty creepy. The deeper we get into this game, the stranger the story becomes, and we discover this story via a series of hidden audio tapes which reveal the very code of the game itself is cursed and haunted.
By creating a protected area to store these logs apart from the game, I effectively gave this thing a safe place to hide itself. It's in here now. I may not be able to delete it, but I might be able
that is pretty cool, like, the storyline and stuff.
to do something else now that it's attached itself.
This is both a celebration
Ah, the pizza party, I remember this level.
of FNAF's scariest moments, and a way to introduce these characters to a new generation 5 years after the first game's release. And what an introduction it is. The
Oh, well, hello there, Glitch Trap.
scariest FNAF game by far, all thanks to the invention of VR. And that's it for today's video. Please remember to give it a like if you did.
Well, that was fun. Also, be sure to
No, that's fun.
be sure to leave a like on this video, guys, too. So that's it for us for now, y'all. Like I said, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. Yeah. So remember to stay awesome, and remember, I am the best.
And keep on rocking.
Right? That's for now.